Welcome to the Therapy Show podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Mustard. In each episode, I interview a seasoned and knowledgeable talk therapist from the counseling world to glean valuable insights, techniques, and tools that you can apply to your practice and your life. And if you're considering a career in the counseling field or just want to hear about what it's like to be a talk therapist, then this is the podcast for you. Well, hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. It's great to have you here today. I am so excited for this episode. I didn't sleep last night. I was so excited about this episode. In this episode, I'm chatting with Kate All. Some of you guys might know her. She is with Simple Pin Media. Highly recommend listening to her podcast, getting on her website, learning from her. She is going to share today how to use Pinterest to grow your business, whether that be your private practice business, or perhaps you are wanting to grow your online course offerings. You want to get more sales to your ebooks. You want to do coaching services. She's going to touch on both of those buckets, as we call them in this episode. Also in this episode, I share what's been working for me when it comes to Pinterest. And you guys know that I have had it with social media over the past year and a half. I've just lost my desire to get on it. It just burns me out. I'm so done. And so I went looking for another way to market what it is that I do. And I discovered Pinterest and I love it. I love Pinterest. I love it. It's been a wonderful way for me to grow my email list, connect with a cold market, which is Kate's going to get into all of that in this episode. And I'll come back in a couple of weeks and talk about the quizzes and the quiz funnel that I've been doing, kind of get more into the weeds as to what that's all about. I know in the last episode, I talked to you about how I'm using a quiz to grow my email list, but a quiz is just one way that you can convert people from Pinterest onto your email list. And Kate's going to talk some more about those different ways that you can convert in this episode. We hope you guys enjoy. We hope you find value. And yeah, okay, let's just dive right into it. So Kate, welcome to the Therapy Show. It's so awesome to have you here. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you too.
Yeah. So I have to admit, I'm a little bit of a Pinterest nerd. I got into Pinterest, about a year ago when I got really tired of fighting Instagram and Facebook, just really tired of it. And there are other things that go into that, I could go down that rabbit hole, but I started to really look into Pinterest and get curious about it. Found you on social media, heard you on a couple episodes of different podcasters that I listened to, and then found your podcast, which by the way, y'all have got to check her out. So would you mind sharing a little bit about who you are? I know you have a very interesting story of how you got into Pinterest. Just kind of share with my listeners or our listeners how you got to where you are today with finding Pinterest and kind of growing your business a little bit.
Yeah. So it was actually back in 2013. I had been messing with Pinterest before that with a friend. I was working on her website doing frugal and deal blogging and primarily focusing on Facebook. And that was when the landscape of social media was so different, right? We just had Facebook, we just had Twitter, and Facebook business pages were booming. They were getting so much traffic. And then all of a sudden Pinterest or Facebook introduced ads. And it was like they turned that faucet off and everybody was clamoring. But at the same time, we personally were completely falling apart from the recession, no money, living on food stamps. And then a friend had suggested, maybe you should try managing Pinterest pages. You're doing it for me. And I was like, that's the dumbest idea. No. And she was like, you're poor. And I was like, that's a great reminder. So
right.
I dove into it head first thinking I really wanted to see, is it possible to use this platform? I knew I could use it for marketing, but could I do it for somebody else? And that's such a unique position to be in because you're really doing something on behalf of somebody else's business. So you have to learn how to represent them. And so as I dove into it, I realized there were a few programs out there, very sub communities that were talking about it. So I got 3 clients and we tried it and it really worked. It was that faucet had been turned off, but it had been turned on with Pinterest.
Right.
And so I spent really that first 8 months of 2014 working with several different clients, just thinking of it as a side hustle. And then all of a sudden I got a recommendation from somebody and I was like, oh my gosh, I got 5 emails in a day. It was blowing my mind. Right. And realized that it could be a business. And so from there, and a lot of years in between, then it's now grown to a full-fledged agency and education and podcasts. I have a team of 40. It's just nuts to what it's blown up into. But all that to say, like, our goal is to really help business owners understand Pinterest marketing in a way that really does add value to their business instead of exhaust them, like what you talked about with Instagram, because we just do not want to be that, or we don't want Pinterest to be that for people.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I know I mentioned to you that my audience is made up of therapists. And so I really kind of divide them into two separate audiences. So one part of my audience are therapists who are looking to grow their private practices. And nowadays, with telehealth being such a boom, that's not just like, 10-mile radius anymore. That's can be a whole state. And for some therapists, that can be multi-states. Okay. So we have that bucket over here. And then we also have the bucket of therapists that have other things going on. They want to maybe step outside of the therapy room and create a bigger impact by selling maybe some are doing coaching now, which in the clinical world, when you do coaching, we have a license, we have to follow, our state laws. But if we decide to become a coach, we can really open up to anybody. So we have those who are turning into coaches, those who have online courses. A lot of my therapist friends want to create a course and market their course. A lot are wanting to write books, become speakers. So we have these two buckets. And I really, if you can, maybe as you were talking about these two groups or buckets, let's think about how we can best help them understand, first of all, like what the heck is Pinterest and why they should consider using it. Maybe we'll start there.
Yeah. So that's a great place to start. And I will say, even before you get to that point, install the app on your phone and just look at it. Like, I don't care if you're personal, I don't care if you're business, just become oriented with it and how you use it, because I think the best marketers are the best users, right? So take 30 minutes, just play around with it. Then you'll start to understand that Pinterest is a search and discovery platform like Google or YouTube. So people go to the platform with the intent of answering a question, finding a solution, dreaming into something bigger. So I like to joke, they're very interested in themselves. They are not interested in you. So they're never going to search by brand. They're only going to search by, how do I search for a therapist online? Or can I do therapy online? I think even though the pandemic has shifted a lot of that, people in their brains are trying to reformat how they see it, right? Or can I, find a course that's going to take me through XYZ?
Right.
So start at that point instead of framing it up like we see with Instagram or TikTok. And that's the biggest mistake I see any business owner make before they market, is that you can't apply one over the other. Like, it just doesn't work. So the 30 minutes search and discovery platform. And what I find is that you start to percolate ideas, and in that search bar at the top, which is really the most powerful tool you'll have on Pinterest, put in words or phrases just to see what's coming up on Pinterest. So you can see what people are already searching and saving to the platform.
Right. All right. I love that. So when you're on Pinterest, think of it as a search and discover, not a connect and DM, or connect and, DM me for more information. Because really I've been using Pinterest and I just absolutely love it. And I'll tell you guys straight up, honestly, I get more people find me faster on Pinterest than they do on Instagram, or even through the podcast. So it's been a game changer for me. And when I realized that it wasn't like I had to read 6,000 people's opinions to find what I was looking for, I was like, ooh, I love this. This is awesome. I'm looking for me and what I want to find. And I know you've mentioned that it's really something that takes time to build and to grow. So what do you say to folks who are just getting started with it? Like, what should you be doing maybe to really start to grow your Pinterest presence, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great point to bring up, because so many people do come to us a month after they've really invested in it. And they're like, it's not doing anything. Right. You're totally going to feel that way. It's, we were talking about working out. You're going to feel that way, 1 month into working out. You're like, I don't see any muscles. What's happening? So what you want to do is set your intention 6 to 9 months or even a year, that at the start of a point, say, this is what we're going to invest in to see if this experiment works for our marketing. And then from there, you want to think about Pinterest as being what type of content you're sharing. So that's why that exploration of searching what phrases, what words, what things are they searching for, because they are very cold and they're asking very high level questions.
Okay.
So at Simple Pin, we have a framework we say they move through, which is inspire, inform, and decide. They go through that inspire where they're like, aha moments. I didn't even know this was possible. Or yes, you've answered my question. Okay, now I want to go deeper with you. I'm going to click over to your website. I'm going to follow you. I'm going to learn more about you. And then they make that decision to purchase your services or your course once they're on your website. So when we think of marketing, we want to think, what are the things that are going to inspire? That's the kind of content you want to create.
Okay.
So you want to be pinning every day so that you're consistently investing in the platform. And then there's idea pins. There's always like other things that we can do. But I think it's important to frame up that contributing to the platform with the content that you want that hits that bucket of inspire is really what's going to fuel the distance. And that feeds what we call the snowball effect, that if something in month 3 doesn't really do a whole lot in month 3, but maybe in month 6, it starts to get some traction because people are searching it. And then all of a sudden you start getting this traffic to your website and you're like, but wait a minute, I pinned that 3 months ago.
Right.
And you're like, that's the beauty and magic of Pinterest.
Right. And I've seen that. Like I've seen it in my own offers and my own services. And I think it's so powerful. And I know that I feel like I see constantly, and I mean, I'm sure you've been in a gazillion Facebook groups. There's a gazillion therapist Facebook groups on how to like, there's one on like how to market your private practice, how to be more of an entrepreneur and as a therapist. And it always comes back to these questions of like, what are you doing to market your services and is it working? And a lot of the advice is, are you running Google ads? Is your SEO good on your website? Have you done, there's so much, but I don't see Pinterest being suggested in there. And I just want you guys to know that there is so much you can do with Pinterest. And I know a lot of therapists will get on there for their own inspiration, like how to decorate their office. And I know that some of them will get on there for that, but start thinking about, I know so many of you all want to offer your course or offer coaching. And so like Kate is saying, what inspirational content are you creating that's going to lead them back to your website? And so that also reminds me of, it's not just a place to inspire. We want to convert. We want conversions to happen. So can you talk a little bit about what conversions look like on Pinterest?
Yeah, definitely. So you said something there about like really getting sales of your courses, getting people into that. One of the tips that I give people, especially service providers, is think of the questions you always get in a discovery call or in like something where somebody's getting to know you. Like they're nervous, they're asking those questions. You can turn those into short blog posts and pin those to Pinterest. An example was we had somebody that came on our podcast and they did boxes for grief. So somebody had lost a pet or a child or a parent or a friend. They would send these grief boxes to them. You could do that. Well, instead of just promoting their boxes and what they have in them, they took a step back and said, people are asking questions like, what should I say to somebody who's just lost their child? What should I give to somebody? How can I bring them a meal? So they took all of those questions and turned them into blog posts to pin onto Pinterest. And what they found is that everybody came through this doorway and the solution was, now you can send them a box. So oftentimes we lead with this, let me tell you about my services or my products, but really you have to back it up into that, creating that content of, oh, what do I even look for in a therapist? Or how do I connect with somebody? So thinking on those levels and even taking it a step back further, level setting. With Pinterest, you want to have a business account. That is incredibly important. A lot of people will have a personal account, like you said, they're looking for throw pillows. Keep that account over here. That's just your safe place, right? Create a new account with your business name and maybe 5 or 6 boards that have to do with what type of practice you have so that Pinterest starts to begin to see those keywords because that's really how it works. And then with your business account, you'll get analytics, you'll get access to ads, you'll get access to all of that, but you want to make sure those are separate because a lot of people use their personal account for business, but they don't convert it to business. It's very, very important that you do that.
And that's free too. You don't have to pay.
Oh, totally free.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I love all the the trends that you can get with Pinterest and the analytics, it's amazing what is available. I mean, and it's so much easier than trying to understand Google ads for me.
Totally.
And something that you said made me think about Instagram, so for example, a lot of therapists they'll write a post on Instagram about, solving a problem. Like, let's say you do marriage counseling or relationship counseling. And so you'll talk about, like, you'll do a reel or you'll put information on there and you'll be like, go to my link in my bio. And I wonder how many times that conversion actually happens, where Pinterest, they can save it. They can come back to it later. They're going to come back and click on your website. And it's a very private.
Yes.
It feels very intimate on Pinterest versus where I feel like I'm on Instagram. I click on something, and I know it does on the Pinterest feed too, but I just feel like it's more of an intimate connection on Pinterest because you're searching for exactly what it is that you want.
Yes.
And so it's different conversions on Instagram. And I just want to kind of plant that seed for those out there who are so dead set on using Instagram. Consider Pinterest, and just slide over there and see what can happen for you.
Well, and to that point, that box company that I was talking about, they do leverage both Pinterest and Instagram. And what they say is that with Instagram, it's a warmer audience that's just followed them for a while. And then they will purchase the box when it comes along. Right. But the Pinterest users are cold and completely new to them. So it's like one is fueling the inside and one is fueling the outside. So you can use them, but just use them differently and to move your business forward. I would also say, we see a lot of analytics, right? Like all of our clients, the percentage of traffic from Instagram is so low. You would think that even people with these hundreds of thousands of followers would get a lot of traffic, but it's very hard to move people out of the ecosystem of Instagram. Right. Like it is almost impossible. I'm an Instagram user and it's addictive and you stick with it and it's in there. But with Pinterest, that is what the platform is designed to do, is to give you a source. And one of the pain points of pinners is, man, this doesn't link. It doesn't go anywhere. Like that's very frustrating because I want more information. And also it is very private. Like you said, that nobody's really going to see what I'm doing. And if people even DM me or even suggest DMing, it's like, what? Right. You're in my space. Don't get in my space.
It's so weird. I've never received a DM on Pinterest. Never.
They gatekeep them a lot in that little section up at the top. It'll say so-and-so wants to message you, which I appreciate. You can't see it unless you accept it. And you can usually tell for the most part. Rarely in the 10 years I've been on Pinterest, I've maybe had 5 that are like my friends sharing pins with me. Like, oh, do you like this haircut? But that's it.
Yeah, I feel like that doesn't happen as much as it used to when, Pinterest has evolved and changed so much. Okay. So I want to touch on something that I know that Simple Pin Media helps with, and that is running ads.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I know you did an episode on this. I've listened to so many of your episodes.
Thank you.
I'm just like, I love Pinterest, you guys. I just love it. It's so fun. The one about setting up your mindset for running Pinterest ads, because if you're going to put some marketing dollars into Pinterest, it's different than Facebook. It's different than Instagram. And I feel like it converts so much better.
Yeah.
I get so, like you said, it's cold, but I get so many cold leads that are warmed up because then they go on my email list, and I have a bunch of different email lists. But okay. So can you share a little bit about the goal of Pinterest ads and what's like the best, what's the word I'm looking for? Most effective way to do it in terms of thinking about your goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that makes sense. And was that the episode with Amanda McKinney where she was talking about preparing? That was such a really good episode because I appreciated her honesty. She's yoga practice, right? And so her thing was just like, I needed to wrap my brain around it first before I jumped in. And we have a membership, so it gives the people that ability to do it. But I think for her, she was like, who is my target person? How do I want to get in front of them? And what is my conversion? Right? Because a lot of times people will go into ads thinking it's just throw money behind it. And that's how you solve the problem. And that's how you get poor really fast, right? Is by burning your money.
Right.
So it's thinking, I would test it out. You don't have to do a lot of groundwork organically on Pinterest anymore, which you used to, but I would say getting your profile set up, testing out a few things organically for a month or so to see what does hit, and then taking and elevating that with an ad to say, okay, now I really want to get in front of them quicker so that I can get them to my website to make a conversion and sign up or do all of these things. But really thinking, do I want them to sign up for something on an email list? Do I want to book a discovery call? Do I want to have them join a small course or something like that? But the most important part is it's not so much an awareness builder over on Pinterest, but it's a conversion builder, where sometimes it's a little bit different than running, say, like Google ads or even Instagram ads. So leveling up and figuring out, how am I going to do it? And I think that even is back to the first 30 minutes, putting the app on your phone for 30 minutes and playing around with it makes you a better advertiser, because you go, oh, now I want my image to look this way, because images are king on Pinterest. That is the only thing people look at. They don't read. Whereas on Instagram, we see an image and that we read.
Right.
On Pinterest, with Pinterest ads, they look native. They are hard to spot them. Some people can now, if they're on the platform for a long time, they can tell it's an ad. But with Pinterest, they want them to look so infused with regular pins that you don't know you're clicking on an ad. And that has happened to me too. Like, I am really seasoned, but I'll click on it. I'm like, oh, this was an ad. I didn't read.
Right.
That's what pinners do. So nailing your image to be so like a really good billboard that just catches their attention and piques their curiosity to where they say, I want to know more. And the number one way you can do that is go look at other people's ads.
Yes.
And see what they're doing.
I love that. And a lot of people get caught up in, what should my pins look like? And, how do I create a pin? And I know that there's, if you just get on Pinterest and you look for that, you'll get bloggers and everybody showing you how to create a pin for Pinterest. But I want to touch on, so it's important to have a nice looking pin.
Yep.
But does the Pinterest algorithm, it reads the text on that pin, right?
Yes.
On the image, which is so cool. So you want to you want to put your keywords on that image, right?
Yes. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. You don't want to max it out with a lot of words. You want to get straight to the point. So if it is a certain type of marriage counseling or a therapy practice or whatever it is, that has to go on there. And what you'll find is, if you click on an image and you scroll below, it says like more like this. That's a really great way to see if Pinterest is closely matching the image with what's underneath. And we've even had somebody wrongly pin an image. It was like spinach dip, but it went to like how to teach your kids to tie shoes or something like that.
Oh gosh.
But the image matched everything. There was nothing about tying shoes. It was all about this spinach dip, which was very fascinating. So create an image. This is a trick. You can create an image, put it in a secret board, and then you can look below to see, is Pinterest categorizing it right? And there'll be like little keyword bubbles underneath too. So you can see if those keyword bubbles closely match what you put in your image. So it's kind of a little bit of a test you can play around with.
Very cool. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. I know there are a ton of uncertainties happening in the world right now. And when it comes to worrying about the future or even dwelling too long in the past, it can take a toll on your present day. It can affect your relationships, your work, your health habits, and it can be a good idea to talk with a counselor to sort through your thoughts, feelings, and actions. And if you're thinking now is the time to get started with therapy, consider BetterHelp. BetterHelp provides affordable, private online counseling and will match you with a professional licensed therapist. You can get therapies in 4 different ways with BetterHelp. You can exchange messages with your therapist, you can chat live with your therapist, you can speak over the phone, or you can even do video conferencing with your therapist. And the cool part is you can use these different ways at different times as you wish, depending on your needs, your availability, and the convenience factor. And BetterHelp's licensed therapists specialize in a wide range of issues, including anxiety, trauma, relationship issues, stress, depression, and much more. So join over 2 million people who've decided to get help and get happy with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Lisa Mustard and get 10% off your first month. And so for those therapists that might only be practicing in one state, like I'm in South Carolina, and let's say I am doing in-person counseling and I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, and I want to like market the fact that I'm doing, let's just say premarital counseling, because that just happened to me the other day. Somebody was requesting that. And I want to focus on that on Pinterest. I would put in that image something like premarital counseling in Columbia, South Carolina, right? Because
Yeah.
because somebody might be typing that in the search bar. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Makes sense. And then, for example, I guess I'm just getting kind of creative. If you hold a couple licenses in different states, you could do different pins with your state
Yeah.
that you're licensed in. And then you
Mm-hmm.
could still link to the same article on your
Yep.
blog or on your website that you want people to go to. I'm just trying to think this through for
Yes.
the folks listening. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Makes
Location
sense.
is a big one. Also with ads, you can target by location too.
Mhm.
So that helps as well. If you want to get quickly in front of those people who are in that location, do that.
Okay, awesome. So a lot of my listeners are in a stage of their career where they might be considering pivoting their skill set and trying something new and trying something different. They would like to do remote work. They'd like to be home more, and they are looking at options. And so I know that one of the things that you have is I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher it. What do you call it? Pinterest agency.
Pinterest Agency Pro. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So
Yep.
what is that, and who is that for? Like, who is the ultimate like client for that?
Right. So it's a lot of people who are leaving one, I guess, job, if you will, and going into something new.
Okay.
And they want to go down the road of being a Pinterest provider.
Okay.
So they have found that they probably like social media management, but they feel like they really resonate with Pinterest quite a bit. And maybe people have asked them, teach me how to do Pinterest or something along those lines. So we have a 12-week course that we take them through, which is actually everything that I did put into those steps to build my business is in that as well.
Okay.
And then some people will ask for me, they want to get straight to the point of like executive coaching or business, like let's just build it. But anybody who wanted to build their agency, the pro course is the best because it has everything mapped out in those 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Or not 12 weeks, 7 units.
Gotcha. Okay. And so I'll put all the links to learn more about what your offerings, and of course on top of that your agency, Simple Pin Media.
Yep.
Tell us about the services that you guys offer.
Yeah. So actually we are doing an interesting pivot as Pinterest has changed. We're still doing services, but now we have everybody going through one main 6-point, I guess, like touch point, I guess you would say, like 6-point build, right?
Okay.
To where we see these are the 6 things that everybody needs to set people up for success. So we do organic marketing that way for them, monthly management. We also do kickstarts. We also do audits. We do things along the lines where if you have a small budget or if you have a bigger budget, we can help you. Or we do images, we do video. We really can take everything off your plate. And then if that's not within your budget, we teach it on the other side with education with our memberships. One is for organic and one is for paid ads.
Oh, wow. So you really have all the bases covered when it comes to Pinterest. I mean, that's wild. That's
yes,
awesome.
Maybe too many bases sometimes.
Yeah, I know. So how do you keep it all together? How do you, I'm
Great question.
Yeah, I'm just amazed because I know you've got kids too.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I would say the first is just having an amazing team. So I do have quite a few team members, but I have a director level who they all look over kind of each silo within our company. And then I get to really be the visionary and do things like this and podcasts and meet people. And it's been this really crazy evolution of just putting people in place and coaching them. And I love team building and I love seeing what people are good at and then saying, okay, you go here, you go here. And a lot of these women, we're a women only company, have started from an accountant specialist and really worked their way up through the company and been with me 6, 7, 8 years, some of them, which has been, it's almost like I joked with a friend the other day. It's like, I just said, hey, do you want to go on this crazy journey with me? I don't know what I'm doing. Would you want to come with me? And they're like, sure, let's do it. And they've stuck around and they've found that they have these amazing gifts to be used and they have even surprised themselves. Like, wow, I never thought I'd be doing this, but I love this. Yeah. And it's not something that you hear about every day. So that's kind of how I do it. But it's summer and it's crazy. And yes, with kids and everybody's this, there, and every other place.
Yes. So I do have a question. I was curious about this. Like, do you have an insider at Pinterest that you get to talk to because of like your business? Like, do they have like a level of help
They
for you?
do. Here's the funny thing about Pinterest is so we are a part of the Pinterest Pioneers program, which is
Okay.
inside their Pinterest business community. So this is open to any creator. That's what Pinterest calls business users, is
Okay.
creators.
Gotcha.
So we're a part of that and we connect with people in Pinterest in there. But, Pinterest has suffered from quite a bit of turnover over the last, even pre-pandemic, it was very hard to keep people. So we've had agency reps, we've had ad reps that we've really gone through. And I've been able to meet with, I would say, like VP of marketing and say, there's something that needs to be done with creators. And they did listen at that point, like we need a creator board. And so they began to build this out and we've been able to speak into that, which has been so great because we find that sometimes Pinterest, their language is so corporate and so, it's almost like they forget they're talking to normal people. And so we are this translator for, okay, Pinterest has said this. Now here's how you can actually use it.
Right.
So yeah, we like to stay as closely connected as we can, but sometimes those people, they leave.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I mean, I really like Pinterest, and I've when I started running ads, of course, I get these, hey, would you like to meet with one of our ad account managers? And I think I've had 3 since I've been with them, and they've been very helpful. I mean, I have all this information coming into me about how to do Pinterest ads. I bought this course last year when I first got started by a blogger, and her suggestion was one thing, and it worked. But since then it has shifted, and now they have this like automatic bids that you can click on, and you can do that. And then, some people say you want to set your daily limit here, and you're looking at the cost per click. And so it's hard to know like what is best because it's so nuanced. And of course it's like what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. Do you have any general advice on like which way to go or how to think that through when you're considering running ads?
Yeah. So no, I hate to say this, but I'm going to be fully transparent and honest, is that once you do get into ads, you're going to get you're going to get pitched like crazy from Pinterest.
Yeah.
And what we have found is those people are really good. It's like they're ad sales people, not necessarily ads managers. And the ads managers are the ones who really give you the nitty gritty info. The ad sales people are going to tell you, oh, your ad's not working. You need to spend more money. And we're going to give you an ads person if you're spending $3,000 a month. And so that's just something to be aware of. So that's actually why we started our membership, and we put the teaching of ads into that membership because it changes so often. And what you said, like what worked a year ago is not what works now.
Right.
And so you have to have this ebb and flow. And I think knowing what your goals are and why you want to run ads is probably the most important. And then finding a community of people that you can troubleshoot with.
Okay.
Because like with Facebook or Instagram or any of those, what worked before is not working now. And we have iOS updates and we have all these different things that are coming out. And now with Pinterest and with all the platforms, they're looking at first party data as opposed to third party, right? Because third party is that faucet is turned off. So you can get a lot of the analytical information that you need from ads, and the ads dashboard is getting a lot better. It used to be really horrible, as you know, like it was not good at all.
Yeah.
So going in, learning it, our membership is called the Society. That has actually been cool. I go in there and lurk in the forums just to see like, what are people testing? What are people trying? And now is that really time to get creative, get really, there's new rules being written, and that also applies to your business.
Okay. So that's super helpful to know. It's changing, it's growing. I mean, like Facebook did, like Instagram, of course, they're all gonna move and shift. Do you even use, I know you said earlier, like you use Instagram for like a warm market and then Pinterest is cold. Do you even use Facebook?
No. I mean,
right.
We had a Facebook group of like 20,000 people. And then in 2020, we shut that down just because it became just so overwhelming. And then once that kind of turned off that faucet of driving traffic, and it's just not where we find our people are at anymore. Right. So no.
Do you have a community group where they are able to get together?
Yeah, we do have that for our organic marketing membership,
Okay.
the collective. So
Okay.
they talk in there. So we tested some different things, which is kind of fun for us. So the Ad Society, we had a forum instead of a Facebook group. And what we found is with that forum, people were more intentional about their questions. Whereas Facebook, we still have that for our collective membership, which is organic, but they won't always see everything. They won't get updates, or sometimes people will put
Right.
things in there, but they won't go back to look at the learning library and the answer is kind of there all along. Whereas the
Right.
forum is so closely linked to that. So yeah, no, Facebook is, I don't know. It seems
Yeah.
like it's a dying.
I hope.
I know.
I'll
I'm
just
with
say it.
you.
I'm so
I
over it.
know.
And
I'm with you.
I think my therapist friends are over it too. And that's, I had a Facebook group when I first started to launch the podcast. And then I was like, what am I doing with this? Like I just wasn't sure what the direction was going to be. And I just didn't want to keep up with it. And then I feel like there's so many Facebook groups for therapists to bounce around in. And I feel like it's the same thing. Like you're only going to get the surface of information. And I think people use it as a way to kind of like validate what they might want to do or try. And it's like, how many times, are we going to ask the same question before you just like go and search it in the group? And yeah. So I wonder what the future of community is going to be. I know there's a lot of like Mighty Networks and Circle and all that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of friends move towards app integrations
Mm-hmm.
and holding their own community. So we use Kajabi on the other side. And I do like that for that forum
Mm-hmm.
community piece. It's been super helpful and it integrates with an app, which I think what people want. Like they want to be able to still look on their phone, which is why Facebook was easy for a long time. But I think there is that fatigue of just social media, right? And we do use Instagram too, but it's exhausting. It's like, okay, you're a video platform now. You're not a photo sharing platform, and TikTok. And even coming back from this conference that I was at, it was really inspiring to go back to the roots of what do your people want to hear and how can you connect with them as a creator, right? Like we're all creating, regardless of what our business is behind us, we're all creating something to connect with the person on the other end. So what does that look like? And I loved, somebody broke it down like a podcast like this is like you're talking to your very best friends, right? Like people have given their ears to you. It's intimate. And then your newsletter is really like your coworkers and you're hanging out with them. And your blog is random people. That is the kind of this way you're going to connect with new people that might go up the chain. But it's that seeding out that you can put on, it fuels Google and all these other things. But I think people, the TikTok, you want to learn something in less than 2 minutes, right? I think there's going to be more of an ache of reading or stopping and having to consume. I don't think that part will go away. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. And I'm curious to see how the evolution, I will say that after being on social media for so many years, I'm ready just to like dump it all in the trash and just stay with Pinterest and my podcast. And I really think that, and I tell my therapist friends, like, if you want to grow outside of the therapy room and you want to have more impact, you want to get your message out there, you want to help more people, podcasting is so awesome. And then, your website, your email list, that's where you're going to connect with your audience and connect with your listeners. And I think a lot more people are like finally getting that, that they don't want to be on social media as much either. So, wow, Kate, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And gosh, you guys, I hope that this was helpful. I'll put all of her links in the show notes so you can go and get more Kate and listen. I mean, like, of course I want you to listen to my show, but you'll learn so much from Kate just by Simple Pin Media's podcast. I look forward to when your episodes drop. So thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else that you would like to share before we end?
Well, thanks for the questions. I think they were really good. I think it's just, one of those things that I would tell people, like, just try it. Like, and I would say the best part about Pinterest is that it's not, like you try Instagram and you feel this, it's almost like your heart racing. Yeah. With Pinterest, there's not that there. And I think that is a freedom that not a lot of people take advantage of. And it is going to take some time, and you're not going to have those dopamine hits like likes and comments and engagements, but it's just in a different way that I think you might need to connect with your people in that way. They might really be lurking in the background because they are afraid to lean into therapy, or it's an unknown, right? And that's just really where your people might be. Yeah. So just to be thinking about that.
Okay. Well, thanks again for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, before we end this episode, I want to know, are you ready to start your podcast, but you want a little support and help? I want you to come join my newly formed Podcaster Lounge. I want you to join it. I want to meet with you monthly, and I want to answer any and all of your questions about starting and growing your podcast. So I'm going to be having monthly meetups with me as well as some folks on my team, and we're going to answer any and all questions. It's only $5 a month, which I'm told by my oldest is less than a venti, grande, frappuccino, blah, 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 whatever that means. So it's only $5 a month. And I hope that you will come and join us. You can learn all about it at the website glow.fm/Lisa Mustard. The link will be in the show notes. If you guys have questions, feel free to send me an email or DM me on Instagram. Hope to see you there. Well, that wraps up another episode of The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard. I know there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and I'm thankful you've chosen to listen to mine.
Be sure to visit lisamustard.com to access the show notes and discover more fantastic content.
And I'd be grateful if you subscribe to the show. Thank you.